Hey, beloveds. I've got a short message for you today about rocks. I was 22, just 22, when I started working in Unitarian Universalist congregations. I was a staff person then, and the congregation that I first worked at was not an easy congregation to work in, as if any of them are. But this one was quite demanding at times, loving too, but demanding, really. And I was just 22 years old. I was working with people my parents' age and older for the most part. And it was a tough job, a tough transition into working in that congregation. And I would process a lot of that transition with my colleagues in that congregation. And one day, after some of that processing, one of my colleagues, the sexton or the janitor, as we might call them out here in Arizona, came to me and gave me this rock. It was a Japanese river stone, he told me. It was a very, very, very dark gray, almost black, and it was super smooth. He explained that this rock had been in rivers, and over time, the water and the movement over other rocks had smoothed this stone to the point where it almost had a reflection because it was so smooth. And he told me that he had these rocks and was giving me this rock of his to remind me that over time, I too would be smoothed by life. That these jagged edges I was feeling would not always be that way. I keep that rock in my office at church to remind me of that ministry message that he gave me. But on my home altar here, I keep some different rocks, ones that have more holes, like this one. Or a rock, this is a great one, that has a really smooth side on it, but then has this chip taken out of it, a really jagged chip. I have some smaller rocks too, like this one. I love this color. And this color as well, this brilliant green on this rock. All the rocks on my altar have these hard edges somewhere. Some of them have some nice crevices, like this one. And there are some that are kind of smooth, but still have small holes. This one reminds me of desert sand, although it's not from the desert. I keep these more jagged rocks on my personal altar to remind me of the jaggedness of life, that things are not always smooth or calm. But the rocks remind me that there are some things in us, in me, that don't change or change very slowly. When I was at a low point in my life, I was searching for my core, which I think is what is there when it feels like everything else has been stripped away. And when I was in that place of feeling like everything that I knew about myself had been stripped away and was not me anymore, what I realized is that what is there in me when nothing feels like nothing else is there are three things. And those three things come from the James Philip Blake Covenant, which I recited every Sunday growing up in my home congregation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament. And service is our prayer. I realized at this low point in my life that those three things were my core, are my core. They are the things that reside in me when everything else might change. Love, as in what I practice and embody over and over again. The quest, the search for truth and meaning in my own life as a symbol of my spiritual orientation. And service to others, to my community, to myself is a prayer through my inaction. Unitarian Universalist Latinx minister Reverend Teresa Soto wrote this poem recently, and I offer it to you to complement my words. They write this: My beloved sometimes talks about a person's pact with life, by which I understand them to mean the things that are essential and non-negotiable, inviolable about the way we live our lives. Mine, they write, makes me sound like a musketeer. Love, truth, beauty, justice. The substance of my life will rise and fall on these, but within them, lies another promise. That is simply to have a life, to keep living as long as possible, to stay and stay alive. By now, your experience of a public health emergency of international concern may be harrowing. This is not, by any means, your fault. The road to our new future is paved with our forward movement, our interconnection. You must let the rose rise up to meet you. If you cannot imagine our future, you must dedicate yourself to sensing our present. The world, in 1,000 ways, says your very name and repeats it in every sunrise, every evening tide, and lonesome silver moon. You matter, you belong, you are loved. The 6 feet, the miles, the masks between us, all of us, cannot stop what is true and what is love. All they can do is reconstitute it for a while. As the Zoom calls, yes, even this, the text, the quick hello, the longer listening, the food distribution, and every story and song and recipe and solution is that yes, yes to life, to yourself, and everyone else. Friends, what are your spiritual rocks? What in you will not change? What is your pact with your own life?